The Outer Worlds 2 has released to some great reviews, not an industry-shifting giant, but it doesn't need to be. Do you know how many space RPGs in the last 15 years have scored above an 80 on Metacritic that aren't The Outer Worlds or Starfield? 1. Mass Effect 3, way back in 2012, around the same time as Skyrim. It's safe to say the genre's been hurting when it comes to big releases. Just think about how many top-tier fantasy RPGs have launched since Skyrim and how much that genre has evolved. But Outer Worlds 2 channels that Fallout New Vegas energy into a tight, character-driven space adventure. The upcoming Exodus aims for a grand, cinematic epic, and Osiris Reborn brings new players into the Expanse universe through gaming. We also have Falling Frontier, showing how stunning and tactical space warfare can be, Squadron 42 bringing back the narrative space epic, and Jump Space offering a kickback party in space. Last we checked in a couple months ago, No Man's Sky was proving again that it was at the forefront of a glorious return for the space game genre. Today we're looking at how a variety of space games are continuing that trend and pulling us into a golden age, I think, of space games. Thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk. It's hard to describe how annoying it can be to be a single-player space adventure enthusiast. Growing up in the 2000s, we had Freelancer, KOTOR, KOTOR 2, the Halo trilogy, the Mass Effect trilogy, and all of the smaller games in between. I mean, even Call of Duty kinda gave up on the space medium in 2016, and they dabbled a little bit. After Star Wars 1313 got cancelled, and Prey 2 got cancelled, and Mass Effect Andromeda did not do well, and Anthem stole Mass Effect Andromeda's energy and then also did not do well, Outer Worlds did alright, and Starfield also did alright. But it's becoming all too normal to not really expect much in higher budget space games. I've actually been sticking to the Citizen Sleeper series for my RPG kicks lately. But this is why Outer Worlds 2 doesn't need to be the pinnacle of gaming to strike. The iron is hot. Space gamers are here and have been proving in various smaller projects that there is a market. It obviously helps that the game sounds like it channels a lot of what made Fallout New Vegas special, and puts that in space. The game runners are the same people who started Fallout back in the 90s, and the team still features many who made Fallout great back in the day. So this is easily going to capture that group of people who are looking for a deeper RPG experience. The space setting is just including the genre in that push. But it isn't alone. Exodus, like I said, is a seriously exciting prospect for the genre at large. Leading with a ton of lore and detail in the universe, Exodus already has a book penned by the famous sci-fi author Peter F. Hamilton. Tons of videos are detailing the universe on YouTube, and there's even an episode on Secret Level, the Love, Death, and Robots-like series based around video games over on Amazon. So if you wanted a new crunchy sci-fi universe that could be experienced on an interactive scale, we're finally returning to one for the first time since Mass Effect. The game experiments with time dilation and the effects of passing time while you're out on your missions, similar to what the older Fable games were trying to do. It also promises a character-driven story with character-focused side missions and a lot of decisions that will leave you second-guessing yourself. We will see how it lands, but the fact remains nobody has even attempted this in the space genre, let alone with a new IP, in almost 20 years. Well, actually, Starfield did try that, so anything can happen. But if you do want a more grounded experience, The Expanse is about as realistic as it gets in popular space media right now. The makers of several beloved RPGs like Warhammer Rogue Trader are taking on a more ambitious RPG title set around the same time as the first book in the Expanse series. Called Osiris Reborn, the details on it are still a bit scarce, but the hype behind this IP has been cooking for about 10 years now, and an immersive RPG was inevitable. Honestly, I couldn't think of a better IP to be making a video game out of right now. Owlcat is also known for their writing chops, so this should be an exciting, more personal story for a wider audience, bringing the book and show's popularity to the gaming industry, much like the Telltale game did before it, but in what they're trying to say is a more Mass Effect approach, a more 2000s BioWare approach. These three games all represent things we haven't seen in space games lately. While Starfield did bring a lot of attention, it wasn't quite the hit I had hoped it would be, but I think it still proved there was enough interest in the genre for others to jump in. And as we get more and more higher budget games like this, they'll all have little unique things that draw more and more people in. On top of that, though, are the consistent pillars of the genre that have been existing in various forms for a while. Not necessarily single player, but still beloved. Now, there are a lot in this category that haven't quite broken out to really drive the genre forward on their own, but there are three I'd like to draw attention to. No Man's Sky, of course, remaining the poster child with regular free updates every year and an easy price point that's all you need. It's a great entry point to the genre for a lot of people, and one that always tends to bring people back into the fold after it gets a big update. Elite Dangerous has had its ups and downs, but it has found its footing after a rough launch of Odyssey. While it's not as popular as it once was, it's still a reliable place for players to go to experience space and gaming and exploration like you can't really do in others. And it looks fantastic in virtual reality. Star Citizen, for whatever your idea of it may be, continues to provide some of the biggest signals that people want space games, and also some of the most unique experiences. Fueled almost purely by its community, the game continues to drop updates multiple times a year, with its third star system releasing this month, several professions and initiatives stepping forward along with regular content releases finally with some storylines mixed in, and the potential of the single-player Squadron 42 coming out by the end of next year. This game could also have a lot of momentum going forward. It's definitely holding down the more simulative, immersive, and cinematic side of the space game genre. But a healthy genre and a golden age are not just driven by the top 10% of the budget in the industry. What makes a genre a good genre are the healthy choices being presented to players on a weekly basis. This is the part of the space game genre that's been thriving for a while and continues to show some stuff upcoming that's looking pretty interesting. Falling Frontier is a space-based RTS that gives you feelings of homeworld, but with the combat of The Expanse. Shots are physically traversing the battlefield, units will escape their dying spaceships in need of rescue, and your forces collect resources at mining outposts throughout the star system. It's almost like a mini Stellaris in real time. While it has taken a while to materialize, it's a pretty intriguing strategy game and an exciting entry into the space game genre as a whole. Hard Space Shipbreaker is one to keep an eye on as well. Recently brought under the ownership of the developer themselves, Hard Space is a gritty, relaxing space salvage simulator where you have to safely vent gases, detach segments, and save valuable loot. Think of it like a more hardcore power wash simulator. Paying off an unachievable debt, you're basically just there for the lulz, chomping down ship parts and tossing things aside, because the vibes are just amazing. Stellaris has been as brain-breaking as ever. A step up from Falling Frontier, Stellaris is a 4X space game that allows you to build up empires and take over the galaxy. It's not new, but it still gets updated plenty, though it is the Paradox style of updating. This one pretty strongly holds down a space in the 4X genre and is pretty good at representing space games in the strategy realm. X4 Foundations is always worth a recommendation when looking for a deep space-based adventure game. It's not as graphically pleasing as some of the others, but if you ever wanted to go from flying a freighter to running an interstellar trading company, this game will provide that experience. And I have to give a shout out to Star Wars Eclipse here. It was recently confirmed to actually still be in development, and while it might not be the most universally exciting game, I am in love with the idea of what it is. Quantic Dream is known for its interactive storytelling, and has told some amazing stories into some of my favorite games, like Detroit Become Human. A cinematic cyberpunk experience where you're trying to save some robots, and I'll let you get into it. This style of game in the Star Wars universe, I think, could be amazing. And sticking with the Star Wars theme, the Jedi games have been somewhat of a draw as well, proving that Star Wars in general could lend a big hand to this resurgence if Disney plays its cards right. But seriously, even look at the Star Wars Outlaws series. I don't think it's going to continue. It could have been a much more interesting and influential game in the genre, but despite its middling performance, it was still a major draw back into space-based games for many players, and an opportunity for a lot of players to say, oh, this looks pretty good, but maybe with a different coat of paint. Now, I could keep going into the various games supporting this bounce back: Jump Space, Empyrean, Everspace, even remakes and reimaginings like the Dead Space remake or Halo Campaign Evolved. They're all bringing more players into the genre in a way that hasn't really been possible for a long time. From top to bottom, the space game genre is delivering wins in different categories. And while there still hasn't been a generation-defining hit in the genre just yet, with bigger budgets putting out their own attempts now more often, it's gonna happen sooner than later. Who knows, maybe it'll even be a Star Wars game. Outer Worlds 2 seems to be a good game, and while anyone is free to say it's the best they've played, I think it most importantly specifically emphasizes the health of the space game genre and how it's gotten a lot better over the last several years. After No Man's Sky's big update a couple months ago, these 2 months of releases and news since then, and the potential for a big announcement around Exodus later in the year, the momentum is continuing to build. The industry has been warming up more and more, I think, and we are still just in the early ages of possibly another space game golden age. Thank you for watching this video until the end. While I mainly cover Star Citizen, as I mentioned here, I'm more of a single player kind of gamer, and I do love space games. So if you want to join me for more coverage of the genre at large, you can subscribe here, and please let me know down in the comments below if you want more of these kinds of essays on the space game genre in general, or just coverage of more space games. And you can also check out my second channel for regular news drops throughout the week and my weekly podcast show over on Space Tomato 2. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new, and I'll catch you in the next one.